Hi folks, in this beginner to intermediate level Java tutorial, let's go through packages, making use of the third-party Java files and JUnit testing. We'll be doing it without any IDE or build tool to understand the basics. Inside the projects folder, we are going to create a new project, and this project is called learn-java. So if I click inside the learn-java, we are going to create two packages. One is called com.mycompany1.main, and inside that we're going to store a class Java file called oddnumbersmain.java. And then the second package is inside the mycompany1, is called the service, and it is called the oddnumbersservice.java. Inside the Learn Java project, I'm also creating a bin folder. This is where the generated .class files will be stored. And also I'm going to create a target folder. This is where we will be jarring our learn-java project. And also a lib folder for storing the third-party libraries. This is a very simple Java application which will be prompting in a console that is also known as systemin. So it will be a DOS console or a Unix console for a comma separated numbers. So you enter like 1, 2, 3 and so on. And then it will be calculating the odd numbers and it will be outputting the odd numbers in that comma separated string. So let's look at those source Java files. Firstly, the oddnumbersmain.java. This oddnumbermain.java, the first statement in any Java application will be a package statement. So this is saying the generated .class file will be stored inside this particular package, which is com.mycompany1.main, which is nothing but the folder structure that we have already created under learn-java, which is com, mycompany1 and main. And then we'll be importing a number of classes from the rt.jar, which is a runtime.jar, which is inside the JDK library, which is in the JRE library. So if you look inside your JDK installation, C tools, JDK, JRE lib, you can see a thing called rt.jar, so which is called runtime.jar. So this is where all the .class files of the JDK will be stored. So when you do import java.util.scanner, so you're importing the scanner class, and also you're importing the Java util list class. And also we'll be making use of the odd number service, which is a custom class that we are going to write it. And then if you look at it, this is a odd number main, has got a static main method. So this is the entry point for any Java application. So when you run this odd numbers main, it will automatically run the main method. So the first line is just printing. It will requesting you to enter a comma separated numbers. Then we make use of the scanner class from the util package, Java util package, which takes it from the system in, and it takes the next input, and it will be passing the input to another class called oddnumberservice.getOddNumbers. So we're not instantiating this, so this is a class level static method call, and we are passing the input that we captured via the console, and then this particular function or method will be returning the list of odd numbers, and then we'll be printing the odd numbers. Let's see what's in the odd number service. So the odd number service will be similar to that. It'll be package. The first line is the package com mycompany1.service, and then it'll be importing number of util, array list, and Later on we will look at, it will be using a third-party library. For the time being, this particular import is not being used, so we can really comment it out. And if you go into the odd number service, all it does is gets an input, and when you write Java applications, you always have to write fail fast application. So first we check whether the input is null, or if it is empty, then we throw an illegal argument exception and say this is not a valid input. If we get a valid input, then it goes in here, and in the input is a string. So string class got a method called split, and it takes a regular expression. So basically what it does is backslash space asterisk means any leading spaces followed by a comma and then trailing space. So basically it's splitting the input based on comma, and it can take any leading or trailing spaces. So this returns an array of string, and once you get an array of string, and then we'll create an empty list which takes an object of type integer. We loop through this each string in the array, and we convert that to an integer. So integer.value of gives you an integer value, and then we do a modulus operation to see if the remainder is not equal to 0. If the remainder is not equal to 0, that means it's an odd number, and then we add it to the output, and then we return the output. The source code is provided in the link shown below this video, so you can go through this particular step by step. So the next step, let's run the javac, which is a Java compiler, to compile the source files. So we run it with -d bin. That means all the generated class files will be stored under the bin folder, and then we are providing the package and the star.java, everything under that package, and then the service package and everything under star.java. So let's run this and see what happens. Now we are getting a compile time error, because first it's saying it can't find out where this package is, and secondly it's saying cannot find symbol this trim.length. So let's go and fix this. So we have commented this and saved it, so it doesn't refer to the string utils anymore. And then I think this is a length is a method as opposed to the number. So let's go and save this again, and let's go back to the console and run the compiler again. That's it. So now the Java source files are compiled. So if you want to see where the compiled classes are, we'll go into C, projects, learn-java, inside the bin, my company one main. So this is odd number main.class, it's compiled. And also inside the service you will see the odd number service.class, which is compiled as well. So next step is to run our odd numbers main. So basically you run with the java -cp for class path, so bin, so because all our .class files are in the bin folder, and then we run the odd numbers main, which has got the main method, that's the entry point to the program. So if I enter now, so it's asking enter the number separated by comma, so I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it gives you an output because 1, 3 and 5 are the odd numbers. Next step, let's build a jar file. So you run the jar command with cvf, being c means create, v means verbose, f means provide the file name of the archive. So the archive file will go into the target folder, and we are naming the archive file as learn-java, which is the project name. 1.00 is the version number, and .jar is the extension. -c means change to .bin. So because we are only interested in .class files going into the archive, so this is going to change the directory to .bin, and everything inside the .bin, including the package structure and the .class files, will be put into the Java, into the archive file. So if I press enter, it builds the archive file. It's telling you com.mycompany1, then com.mycompany_main, and it will be putting the .class file here, odd number service class file. So before we ran the Java command with the .bin being the folder for the class path, now let's run with the class path being target and the jar file. So all our .class files are packaged inside this jar file, and then we run the odd numbers main, which has got the main method. It will ask you again, so let's put 1, 2, 3 this time, and we'll get an output of 1, 3, which are the odd numbers. Any non-trivial Java application will be using a lot of the external third-party libraries. Even though the rt.jar that comes with the JDK has got a lot of thread-related classes, data types like string, character, it got a lot of utility classes and so on. But to solve specific problems, there are third-party libraries. Like if you go to Apache, there will be hundreds of different third-party jar files, one for the big data. Any type of application that you're going to build, you will always find some kind of library. So in this case, instead of doing input not equal to null and input.trim.length equals 0, let's make use of a third-party library which is called string utils. The string utils is an Apache utility class which comes in the Apache common slang. If you go to the Apache home, you will see a number of different projects. So in this case, we are going to use under C, which is the commons library. Under commons, on the left hand side, you will see source repositories and you will see components. And then commons lang is the one we are interested in. See, here is the lang. So generally, instead of going to the individual project home, I would like to go to the central repository, this is the Maven central repository. So these are the location repo1.maven.org/maven2. And then you can go into org, and then Apache, and then commons. So we are in org, Apache, commons, and what we are interested in is the commons lang. This is a commons lang 3, and we can get the appropriate version. So if you know the structure, you can also type it in org, Apache, commons lang 3. So all you have to do is download this .jar file. It will download it to a desktop or the downloads folder, and then you have to copy and move it to the projects learn Java lib folder. So here we go. Here's the commons-lang 3.4 version. We have to now go to this odd number service and then change it to use the string utils library. So libraries make your life a lot easier and makes your code more readable. So we use string utils dot is empty. So this string utils.isEmpty method takes an argument of string and it will check if it is null or blank. So let's go into our DOS prompt and let's compile this. In this case, we are doing the same thing with -d bin. That means generated class files will be going into the bin folder. Then we are adding a class path and we are saying look into lib commons-lang 3.4 for the string utils jar, otherwise it will complain I can't find this class. So now let's do the same thing. Let's compile those Java files, and they are compiled. So let's build the jar file again with the change, and then we can run the application again, and this time we do 1 comma 2 comma 3. Okay, so we need to run. So now it's saying it can't find the string utils because we did not say where this lang 3.4 jar is. So we need to provide that along with the bin. Instead of specifying each jar at a time, what you can do is class path, which is a bin. That's where all the .class files that we have generated, and we also need the string utils, the Apache Commons lang, so which is inside the lib folder. There are a number of jar files, so we will say asterisk and then run it again, and then we can run the program. So we have just seen how to use a third-party jar file. So let's extend this, and we will write a JUnit test. So any non-trivial Java application will require proper unit testing. So that's one of the requirements for proper code quality. So we are going to, if we are going to write the JUnit test, we need a JUnit jar, which is a third-party library. So we use JUnit jar to do all the unit testing. So you can also download JUnit from Maven. So I already know what the group ID is. So if you say JUnit, and we'll go to the version which is 4.12. We download this JUnit jar file and we can save it. I have already downloaded it. In the JUnit, if you look at the POM file, it also has a dependency on one other jar file. So we need to download that jar file as well. So if you look at the dependency, the group ID is org.hamcrest and it's called hamcrest-co. So we also need to download the hamcrest. So if I do org/hamcrest, which is the group ID, and then we got to download the hamcrest core as well. So I have already downloaded this. So if you go into our lib folder, projects learn java lib, so this is the commons lang and this is the JUnit and hamcrest. So now we are ready to write our unit test. So let's look at this odd number service test Java. So this is the unit test. So first statement, as always, the package is packaged into the com.mycompany1.service and is making use of some of the JUnit library classes, which is for assert, for assertion, and also it is using the JUnit test. So when we use at annotation with the test, that means when JUnit will only run those methods that are annotated with that test. And then we are making use of number of other imports from the rt.jar, which is a list and the arrays. So basically what the JUnit test is doing is testing this get numbers logic. So firstly, let's create an input, and it's got 2, 4, 6, 9, 11, and then we'll be calling the odd number services method. It'll be getting an output, and then we'll be testing the output to make sure this particular method is behaving as expected. So when you do an input of this, you're basically expecting 9 and 11 to be the output because they are the odd numbers. So first I'm asserting it to say the output size, the array list that it returns, should have 2 elements. And then the next test is to say that those elements are 9 and 11. So we need to compile again because we have added a new Java source file, which is a unit test. So doing the same thing, -d bin means the generated classes will be stored inside the bin folder. And in order to run this, we depend on third-party libraries. So we put the class path. One of them is under lib, which is called the commons lang. Then the lib JUnit jar, and then we run our source code. And if you run this, it's compiled. The next step is to build the jar file. We do the same. Now the jar file has been built. It will only have the .class files, and also it will have the odd number service test.class file as well. And the last step is to run the JUnit. So basically, to run the JUnit, you run the Java, you put the class path, you provide all the dependency jars, which is a common slang, is used because we are using a string utils from the common slang. Then for our unit test, we are using JUnit jar, and then the JUnit jar depends on the Hamcrest core jar. And then we are providing target and then the jar file that we have built. This is where all our application code exists in the jar file. And then to run the JUnit, you got to run org.junit.runner.junit core, and then you provide the name of the test class, which is the odd number service test. And if you run this, it will say it ran and the test passed. Alternatively, you can also set the class path environment variable. So like we saw Java _ home environment variable, you can also set class path, they all uppercase, capital. So you do the set class path and you provide the lib comments jar, JUnit jar and the Hamcrest jar, and also the target and the jar file that we built for this project, which is a learn Java. And then you enter. Now the class path is set. Now you go and run this JUnit test. So you're running a Java, then you're running a JUnit core, which is it's one of the JUnit jar package files, and then you pass the name of the test that you want to run. So now once you run this, you'll get, okay, so this failed because we are using JUnit 4.11. It's actually in our lib it's 4.12, so we need to fix that up. So I have changed this to JUnit 4.12. That's what we got in our lib folder. So I set it again, run it, and then I run the JUnit test again. Now it has passed. So in this beginner to intermediate level tutorial, we have created a project, we have created a number of packages, we built the jar file, and we created the bin folder for the class files, we created the target folder for the built jar file to go in, we downloaded some third-party jar files, and then we used that in our project, and also we created a very simple JUnit test. And we'll learn more about how all these tasks can be simplified with build tools like Maven in the forthcoming tutorials.